Hi everyone and welcome to your midweek astrology update. Now this week, without a shadow of a doubt, we had a very intense sky and we finally got to the point where at least for this period, this end of summer, the intensity is reaching its all-time high because on one hand, Mars is entering as we speak 23rd degrees of Aries. And this is really important because on one hand, tomorrow is going to be the very first day when the square between Mars and Pluto is going to be exact. And this square between these two planets is an incredibly powerful, karmic, assertive energy of change, transformation. Yes, of course, this transformation can have so much to do with losses, surrender, giving up, a termination, destruction, deconstruction, but at the same time, it can be the sheer force of will which takes effect and changes everything. Now, of course, this playing out on the world stage is the predominant manifestation of this energy because this is highly influential, and the way it's going to play out collectively is without a shadow of a doubt going to be the most important part of this for all of us, both individually and collectively alike, because basically the sign of Capricorn with Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto in it is the symbolism of government, centralized power, the social hierarchy governing all of us, the structure of society, the structure of our material lives collectively. So it is very important. And if this wasn't enough, this is where it's not just about the deconstruction, the change of the old order, because Mars also meets in the sky Eris, the planetoid of discord, rebellion, revolution. Its female counterpart, even in mythology, Eris is the sister of Mars. So when these two planets meet in the sky, Eris' symbolism is activated and infinitely amplified, and together, as in Mars and Aries, are forming the square with Pluto. So that is the power of change. That is also a moment when a massive karmic activation takes place, because 22nd, 23rd degrees of Capricorn is where January's, as in 12th of January 2020, Saturn-Pluto conjunction took place, a very rare astrological dance which last happened 504 years ago, and it coincided with the Protestant reformist movement, which basically took away most of the power of the Pope, which was the symbol of centralized power, patriarchy, the old order back then in 1518 or 19, something like that, when it took place. And it changed the world profoundly when it last happened, and similarly right now it is also changing the world, but in a form of expression, in a manifestation that is in tune with the modern present moment times that we are living. So this profound change has to be one which affects all of us, and all of us need it one way or another. Now, the main manifestation of that January's Saturn-Pluto conjunction was, without a shadow of doubt, the coronavirus, and how it, deconstructed in an instant our old normalities, our old lives, our old customs and traditions. But of course, Saturn and Pluto weren't alone in the sky. The Sun, Mercury, and the planetoid Ceres was also there, conjunct with these power players. So, Ceres speaks about that this massive change is also going to affect our food, everything that nurtures us, agriculture. Mercury, our communication, our one-on-one relationships, alliances, the flow of information, the flow of resources, the education system, which is, very obvious, and, the Sun, our sense of identity. It can represent a massive upgrade, but this upgrade naturally doesn't come that easy. We have to basically survive the deconstruction of the old order. So what I'm actually saying with all of this is that Mars is finally going to reactivate that karmic degree where all these planets were conjunct back in on the 12th of January. So this begins the second phase, maybe the final phase of the massive change that the Saturn-Pluto conjunction are creating in our world. Symbolically speaking, we can look at the very birth of the coronavirus situation globally, as in humanity just surround itself in a massive cocoon, and then inside that cocoon, the caterpillar that we were started digesting itself, and now we're finally inside the cocoon, but we're already a butterfly, and we have to break free, and after we break free, we have to get used to our new condition, where we have to take on the air element, as in January's great conjunction in air sign, in Aquarius, so that represents the power of the intellect and the mind. But before we can actually embrace this future, well, our wings have to harden, and we have to learn how to fly. But of course, all of this to be understood symbolically, where I'm using the metaphor of the transformation the caterpillar undergoes to become a butterfly. So this is where now we finally have enough power in enough strength inside the cocoon to break free and to finally embrace what is on the outside of the cocoon, because we're already new, upgraded, but we have to become aware of it, and as I said, our wings definitely have to harden. So this Mars and Pluto square, and the Eris-Pluto square naturally, all of it expanded greatly by Jupiter, because Jupiter is conjunct Pluto at this time. So this can mean massive protests, uprising, clashes between law enforcement and individuals. It is a very assertive energy that is bound to, manifest as violence, as clashes, as wars. But how all of this manifests globally, as in on the world stage, I've spoken about this in my previous horoscopes. Actually, me and many astrologers have spoken about this all throughout the year since the very, very beginning. So I think that right now it is a little bit more useful to speak about how this can manifest in our personal lives, because strictly personally speaking, it doesn't necessarily have to be violent, it doesn't have to be conflictual. It is a massive change, transformation, surrendering of the old and trying to embrace the new. But this can play out in a very peaceful and constructive manner, because, both Mars and Pluto are personal power, but different versions of it. And a square, yes, it is hard, it is conflictual, it can be a massive frustration, stress, anxiety, but at the same time, it depends on the individual, because it can also represent ambition, motivation, and just not giving up, persisting. So in the following, I attempt to take a look at how this Pluto-Mars square is likely to play out in the lives of all the 12 zodiac signs. But before I get into that analysis, I would just like to mention that today we also have a very strong minor astrological aspect called the Quincunx, where the Sun holds this type of conversation with Jupiter, Neptune and Pluto. So today might be a very strange, awkward, unusual day, where the feeling is that of almost as if we exist in a surreal, altered state of consciousness, an alternative reality. Today, very, very many things can feel weird, unusual, awkward, or almost a little bit paranormal. So if you're flooded by really, really unusual, a state of being, a state of consciousness, so to speak, may it be fearful, may it be just awkward, may it be ecstatic, ethereal, Don't allow this to unsettle you or to freak you out, so to speak, because this is just a quincunx. It is basically just preparing us to what's about to come, just that, this preparation is more perceived by our instincts, by the borderline between the conscious and the unconscious, so that's why it can feel so very unusual. Now in the following, let's take a look at how this Mars-Pluto square is likely to play out in the lives of the 12 signs of the zodiac. And I would also like to mention that this is just the first square. What I'm about to say most likely affects the immediate future, the close future, and not until the very end of the year, because this type of conversation is going to take place 3 times. This is the first time. Then we're also going to have when Mars goes retrograde. And the third and final time when Mars goes direct and it prepares leaving the sign of Aries towards the end of the year. So basically this is just the first square that Mars and Pluto are going to be holding in this way. But usually it is the first square that is the most relevant, not necessarily because it is the most likely to manifest, but because it gives the main theme, it marks the theme, it lets us all know what's about to take place, how things are going to progress. So paying close attention to whatever happens in our lives today, tomorrow, and until the end of the week is going to give us a hint, a foresight, to anticipate on how our lives are very likely to look like at the very end of the year when the Great Conjunction is going to be taking place in 0 degrees of Aquarius. So let's begin with natives born under the sign of Aries. Now for you guys, this energy of the Mars-Pluto square is very influential, and since Mars is in its home sign of Aries, in your sign, you are one of the people most directly affected by this energy, but of course not necessarily in a bad way. Whatever takes place in your life seem very stressful, very worrying, very frustrating in the present moment, because naturally Mars and Pluto can represent the need to surrender, losses, giving up, coming to terms with something. And the best way to perceive this is actually the prayer of serenity, as in give me the strength to change what I can and what I have power over. Give me the strength to surrender what simply doesn't depend on me and I do not have any power over. And give me the wisdom to know the difference between the two. So one way or another, for natives born under the sign of Aries, this is how this energy is going to be playing out. This is like a massive decluttering of your life. This is almost where the universe asks you, what would you like to do with your life? What would you like to do with your identity? What role would you like to play in the future? Perhaps the long future, the distant future. Without a shadow of a doubt, this Mars and Pluto square is conjuring up, creating a new beginning in at least one area of your individual lives, depending on where Capricorn falls in your personal chart. But generally speaking, because for Aries, Capricorn is the 10th house, the midheaven, so it has so much to do with life path, your career, your job, your talents and skills and masteries as professionals. So it is this big theme that is going to play out in your lives. For some people it is actually career and job, but for other people it is much more than that. It can be the soul path, being awoken inside of you to basically try your very, very best to enact, to play out that karmic theme, that karmic duty which you brought to this existence, basically why you were born in this lifetime, your soul level goals and soul level purposes. But this is where it's not just the universe and the karmic forces slave driving you to do what you have to do, but it's much, much more than that. Because basically Mars in your first house, in your sun sign, well, that can represent that you need a great deal of input. This isn't where you just go with the flow. This is where you have to decide and make up your mind on what you want to do and how you want to do it. And since Neptune is in your 12th house, as in your unconscious mind, the most arcane corner of your soul, well, that represents that the divine is guiding you, supporting you, giving you everything that you need to discover yourself. And when you stand from a place of alignment with whatever you discovered within yourself, well, that is going to be the moment when you can make choices, decisions on how you want your life to play out in your future. And this can have a massive effect on your career, on your soul purpose, on your skills, talents, and masteries. And you also have a very powerful trine, as in a celestial conversation of supreme harmony, of massive blessing, a trine between Mars and Sun, Mars being in your first house and the Sun in your fifth. So that means courage, that means an infusion of passion, love, determination, the power to accomplish everything that you desire. Of course, Saturn in your 10th house does require a lot of sacrifices, effort, Jupiter to be aligned with your inner truth, and Pluto to surrender and give up all illusions, expectations, those desires which don't actually stem from you. Most importantly, those kind of desires which are very much alive inside of you because you want to show your worth, you want to please others, you want to prove yourself. Well, chances are that Pluto is going to require you to just eliminate everything that has to do with other people from your soul and to align yourself with the main purpose, as in you are doing this for yourself, for your soul mission, and naturally only after then, to shine your light on other people and to share your masteries and skills. Because there are times in life when Aries, is the symbol of the warrior. You have to stand up for other people, you have to protect, inspire, guide, fight for other people, so to speak. But right now, you have to fight for yourself. Right now, because of this trine between the Mars and Sun, this is where the universe tells you that basically you need to embrace your power, your gifts, all your blessings, and not feel guilty or selfish because you excel, because you shine, because you choose to use everything that is a virtue inside of you to get things done in your life. Because when you get things done in your life and you're secure and you're okay, well, then is the moment when you're in a position to help anyone who you choose to help. That is when you can be an even greater force of change in the world, because you can inspire other people with your determination, ambition, courage, boldness to speak out and express yourself. So for you guys, even if this is very hard, even if this is very painful, and Pluto, you have to surrender a couple of things and you have to face the truth about you, even if that stings a little bit, it is something that is going to change your life for the long term and in the most positive of ways. So hold out, don't be intimidated, regardless of what karma or fate takes away from you right now, because not only is it going to be replaced, but it is going to basically clean up your life and help you achieve a fresh and new start. For those born under the sign of Taurus, well, this energy is going to be very interesting. Firstly, because you have Uranus in your first house, as in your sun sign. So no matter how we look at things, most karmic completions for you guys are going to take you out of your comfort zones anyway. Most important karmic events that are going to take place in your lives are going to require you to think and process everything totally outside of your comfort zones. And we all know that comfort is very, very important for Taurus natives. But this is where, if you can just think outside the box, embody the archetype of Uranus as in the visionary, the deep thinker, they who try the hardest to look at reality most objectively. Of course, full objectivity is naturally impossible, but if we try to align ourselves with the greatest truth, well, that is already a massive blessing. And then is when Taurus natives can truly tap into the highest expression of Uranus. So whatever transpires, transcends, changes, manifests in their lives is always going to show them the big picture. And that is very, very important, because that makes them that much more self-confident that their futures are actually secured, because they know what they need to do and how they need to do it. For you guys, Mars is in the 12th house, so it activates all of your unconscious energy, and chances are you guys are going to go through a massive psychological transformation where you simply have to surrender, give up, eliminate, and purge out old patterns of the past, how you used to live your lives, how things used to be. This can also represent deeply rooted routines, deeply rooted principles, faith, ideologies which no longer serve you. Maybe things that you picked up from your parents, from other people, from how life used to be when you were children. Because certain coping skills, philosophies, how to navigate through life can see us through a very long period. In the old days, in the old generation, people used their highest principles to navigate through all of their lifetime. But we no longer live in that era. So we live in a world where everything changes so very, very quickly in an instant. Something that used to work and was perfectly normal one day can simply change 180 degrees the next day. We live in an age of the internet where information and everything travels with the speed of light. So you guys require a massive inner psychological upgrade where you become much more flexible, where you can embody new ideologies, new currents, new know-hows, new coping skills that much easier. But maybe out of all the zodiac signs, it is for you guys that it's the most difficult to always operate outside of your spheres, your comfort zones, where your inner structures, as in your highest philosophies, your faith, and all those principles which are basically pylons to your normality, are collapsing. They are changing very, very quickly. And it is this old normality, it is this unconscious patterns that this Mars and Pluto square are going to simply demolish inside of you. But this doesn't have to be painful. This doesn't have to be shocking, dramatic. Because, that's why we had at the very beginning of the year the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which prepared you for this moment. So basically, you're naturally over the hardest part. This is where you just have to embody the strength of Mars and Pluto and just change your life, change your principles, change your worldviews, standing from outside your comfort zone. But there's also massive blessing in here, because Mars also forms a trine with the Sun, which is in your 4th house. So you have all the support of your friends and your family. you have support of your friends, all your good deeds and all the good karma that you accumulated, where you helped your loved ones, where you supported those people who you regard as friends, soulmates, etc. Now all these people can stand by your side and just simply support you, help you go through these changes, and of course they can also inspire you. And for those Taurus natives who are in an established bond, a long-term relationship, who have a family of their own, well, this is where you're definitely not alone. You're going through this change along with your family, along with your partner, along with your loved ones. Basically, you're fighting and you're being inspired by the highest forces, Mars in the 12th house, that is divine power motivating you, possessing you almost in a symbolic way, of course, for you to make all the right choices, for you to have courage and faith to do everything that is needed to enable the change. So even though it can feel very, very, very intense, because Mars in the 12th house is always intense, you can have very unusual dreams, states of being, you can feel a certain anxiety building up inside of you because you want this change so badly. But this is where the divine intelligence is guiding you and supporting all your actions, decisions and choices, along with your loved ones and your family or your partner. So for Taurus natives, this is a very, very powerful time of the most positive change, regardless of how it looks like right now. In the future, and not the distant future, you are going to be so thankful and happy that this inner transformation happened to you. You are going to feel like a brand new person, not necessarily regarding your identity and your usual customs and everything that makes you individual and unique, but rather how you feel inside of yourself, your psychological configuration. It is going to be powerful, it is going to support you. You are heading towards and working towards being infinitely happy on the long term with who you are and how your life is. In a nutshell, this is basically what the Mars-Pluto square is conjuring up in your lives. For natives born under the sign of Gemini, well, this energy is not going to be very pleasant. It is not going to be easy to endure, and neither is it going to be spontaneous instant manifestation. But basically, this is just another piece of the puzzle, continuing the big theme of all the year 2020, and for very many natives even before that, because Saturn and Pluto have been residing in the 8th house for you guys for a long time, ever since 2017. So for you guys, these are the final finishing touches of a massive life change. Now, of course, Mars and Pluto is without a shadow of doubt representing a massive change for every single sign, for every single person on the planet. But for you guys, since it is the 8th house, this change is that much more profound. It is not, maybe the word change doesn't do justice. It is like a death and rebirth, where your old self and everything about your past and who you used to be, especially financially, psychologically, is just dying, and has basically, for many, it has already died. And this is where you're just rebirthing, you're rising from your ashes. So this continues the theme, which has to regenerate your material life, your possessions, your contractual relationships with other people, your business partners, your collaborators, people who you share your resources, skills and talents with. So this is a massive, massive upgrade. Chances are you guys had a lot of hardships, you had a lot of losses, difficulties, moments of maximum stagnation, standstill, being stuck in your financial lives, careers, jobs. There were a lot of challenges. Maybe friends, family, people who you love dearly needed your support 24/7. Having to almost live for other people during these very difficult past 3 years, it was like painstaking. It sent you into so many dimensions of depression, feeling like life is simply defeating you. But this is where you're recovering, but this recovery is very stressful. You know, as I said earlier, rebirth, being born is not, a pleasant experience. It is maybe much more painful than death. So for you guys, these massive changes and karmic moments can basically sweep down your life from nowhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be loss, because you had so many losses with Saturn and Pluto in this part of your sky. So this is more likely to play out as change of circumstances, where if there are losses, well, those losses are your acts of surrendering or giving up or transformation, decluttering your lives, especially your circle of relations, social connections, business partners, all of your contractual relationships. This is where you are making order, cleaning up your lives, but you're not doing it alone. It is not really your preference. It is more like a karmic fated event which simply terminates it, and it doesn't terminate it in a very violent way, so to speak. It terminates it by revealing to you the truth, who doesn't deserve you, who shouldn't have any place near you and in your lives. So for you guys, this is like an inner and also karmic wake-up call that you need to eliminate certain people from your lives and fulfill certain soul contracts, karmic duties to other people in your lives. This is where natives born under the sign of Gemini are one of the most busiest individuals karmically, because they have to do so much for themselves. They have to upgrade their lives, stabilize their financial situation. Everything that they need to have in their lives, they need to acquire it. But at the same time, they also have to serve others, especially those people who they have soul contracts with. But the North Node, being in your sign, where it is also exalted, the whole universe, basically the power of the planets, the karmic forces, are helping you, are aiding you. Because, symbolically speaking, as above, so below, whatever happens in your lives, whatever frequency basically you share out in the world, whatever you express, because Gemini is self-expression. You need to communicate, you need to express yourselves. So whatever you do in this manner will influence all of reality and, the general symbolism of the North Node. And this is where also Mars holds a very powerful trine with the Sun in your third house, as in the house of Gemini, a house very, very important for you guys. This is where your self-expression, communication, sharing your truth, your skills, your talents, it is like a celestial blessing. It is like the universe speaks through you guys, so you are infinitely blessed. This is where your power lies. So speak, communicate, express yourselves, do whatever you need to do with perfect self-confidence, because the universe is basically living through you guys right now. So it doesn't matter how hard and heavy these changes feel like. On one hand, you do it for your long-term future. Whatever you do and have done these past 3 years, this is meant to last for the rest of your lives. So this is a moment in your lives when whatever happens, it is the most important thing that's ever gonna happen to you for the long-term future. So hold on and stay strong, because the universe is definitely with you, and as I said, it works through you guys. For natives born under the sign of Cancer, well, this square between Mars and Pluto is kind of meant to complete the big theme that was already started the past 18 months of your lives, because Cancer natives hosted the North Node, so a lot of changes and a lot of progress have been made last year and even the year before that. For you guys, it could have been like a massive emotional rebirth. Of course, it wasn't very easy, because it revealed to you, first of all the illusions, misaligned beliefs, traumas that you, and old emotional baggage that you carried within yourselves. But all of these were exposed, eliminated, healed through. So basically this celestial conversation, this karmic moment, is like an exam where you guys have to prove that you embodied all your skills, virtues, and all the lessons of the past. For those natives who are single, well, this energy can conjure up a karmic new relationship, but in order for this to turn into something really beautiful and positive and useful, well, you need to apply all the lessons, especially all the spiritual, emotional, psychological lessons that you have learned the past 18 months of your lives. As in, you have to embody your new selves. You have to embody your healed version. Because chances are this karmic partner may have all the wounds that you had, so you can heal them, inspire them that much more, and this can give birth to a wonderful and fantastic new relationship. But for those of you who are in an established bond, well, chances are that last year and the year before posed a lot of challenges in your relationship, and this is the moment when you're either going to make it or you're going to break it. And of course, your lives, your careers, your jobs, your professional lives are also greatly impacted by this, because some people might require to sacrifice, surrender much more for their jobs, for their livelihoods, and this can play out in a very negative way in their relationships, especially those who are not single, those who are committed, who have a family, maybe a marriage. This will require to apply all your wisdom to find a balance between job, career, and your partnerships. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. It can be one-on-one alliance contract. For those who have a business, well, chances are this is going to greatly influence their business. Maybe new partnerships can be born, or maybe old ones have to be broken in order for you guys to evolve your business or transform it into something else. But if you apply the wisdom, and basically if you embody your healed and regenerated, emotionally speaking, of course, self, well, that is where you can actually muster the strength to call upon the help of your partners. May that be life partner, business partner, associate, colleagues, everything that has to do, every kind of relationship that falls into the 7th house. And Mars also holds the trine with the Sun in your 2nd house, so this can also be a massive financial opportunity where, for example, an ingenious idea that you might come up with along with your partners, your life partner, your business partner, etc., can turn into a massive financial breakthrough. Or for other natives, this is where they might hear the inner wake-up call to abandon their old careers and their old jobs and perhaps start a new business with their families, to turn it into a family business. Or of course, some very fortunate natives can simply end their careers and embrace something very personal because their partners might offer to support them and take care of them. And for those who are single, this can actually play out as meeting a very influential, rich, materially well-off new partner who will just take off all their financial worries, off the shoulders of Cancer natives. So as long as you apply your wisdom, your experience, and you embody your emotionally most superior and healed self, well, you have every single chance to turn this energy into a massive blessing. For natives born under the sign of Leo, well, for you guys, this energy might be rather very beneficial, because on one hand you have Mercury and the Sun in your first house, and the Sun holds a supremely harmonious conversation with Mars, so that is a great celestial infusion of energy, ambition, courage, raw sheer power to accomplish whatever you want. For those Leo natives who have artistic skills, talents, and inspiration, this can be a really, really good moment to create, to share, to express your artistic creativity. For other natives, this is when just simply having fun and looking at life as a massive game, as a playground basically, where every player just has to make moves, turns, etc. This infusion of the playfulness of the inner child can be such a massive blessing at this time, especially because the energy of the inner child, this happiness, this childlike playfulness, can simply give you the inner strength needed not to look at the negative side, the hardship, the stress, the frustration side of this Mars-Pluto square. So it doesn't matter how it manifests in your life. For you guys, there is no reason why it shouldn't be positive, joyful, where you can just see the good side in all of it. You guys can use this energy to basically change your lives, as in your everyday routines, what you do each day with yourselves. This is where you can integrate new healthy routines, rituals into your life, spending time with yourselves, for example, meditating, embracing a healthier lifestyle, forming closer connections with those people in your lives who have a very healthy and a very positive effect on you. They inspire you with all the good ideas, activities, etc. Those who actually live by example. And also, this is also very alchemical energy, because Neptune in your 8th house, sextiling all of the Capricorn planets, this is where you can basically weave your dreams into existence, integrate them into your everyday life. This is where there is no reason why you shouldn't fight to obtain a kind of life where you can just live your dreams, whatever makes you happy, each and every day without limitations and restrictions, especially if those are based on the small joys of life. So this is an infusion of wisdom, self-discovery. This is where you can tap into the full miracle of your spirituality. And by your self-expression, you can also be an inspirational force in the lives of others, where you can just motivate them, infuse them with hope and optimism. But the negative side of this energy, the 6th house Capricorn, square between Mars and Pluto, now there is a danger here for accidents, so be very careful right now. Especially be very careful, health and safety rules. Do not take any physical risks, for example, extreme sports like bungee jumping, etc. And also pay very close attention to your eating habits. This is the moment when you need to detox a little bit, and at the same time, for those Leo natives who have like a long-term condition, medical problems, etc., this could be a moment when it flares up, but it's all in the highest good, because chances are when you're going to go to the doctor or a medical expert or try to solve the medical problems, you can either make a massive improvement for the long term or solve them for good. as long as you also embody the lesson that that medical condition taught you from a spiritual perspective. For example, lots of Leo natives might have medical problems, back aches, for example, bone aches, digestive problems, skin rashes, etc., because they allow too much stress in their lives. So this can be a valuable lesson about stress management, and that everyone needs happy moments in their everyday routines, because those are the cure and the medicine to stress and, the everyday hassle. For those born under the sign of Virgo, this energy can play out in so very many different ways, because it regenerates them, it rebirths them, it breaks away all the patterns of the past, and it kind of prepares them to embrace a new life, but not immediately, but only after Mars kind of leaves the sign of Aries for good, so around the very, very end of the year. So this is like a massive karmic preparation to regenerate, to heal, to close things that stem from the past, to eliminate everything that doesn't belong in your life, especially people, for example, toxic friends, toxic clients, toxic partners, bosses, colleagues, everyone who simply is not a valuable addition to your life and just fills your soul with unrest, challenges, negativity. So this is a massive cleanup right now, when Virgo natives just have to stand up for themselves and set very strong boundaries. But at the same time, this can also represent a psychological energy where they just undergo a rather gentle but consistent subconscious purge, where old childhood patterns or the effect their parents had on them are just being revealed. And by this revelation, 50% of the healing journey is already done, because Virgo natives confront whatever arises from deep within them. So it is their natural instinct to try to make sense of it. And because they're so very blessed by Mercury, your sign being the nighttime expression of Mercury, your intelligence, your know-how, your problem-solving skills can be perfectly applied for the self, even psychologically. What I'm saying is you can be your own psychologist and listen to whatever your unconscious mind is pulling to the surface and telling you. But where all of this is leading you towards, the big picture, the big picture is basically creating a future for yourselves where you can live a life of passion, where you can simply do whatever you love, whatever makes your heart beat with excitement, with freedom, with love, with acceptance. It is healing your inner child. It is basically giving yourself back the energy and the psychological sacrifice that you have made all throughout your lives, whereas in many times you served others, you sacrificed your liberty, you sacrificed your comfort, your time, your energy, your money to support others, may they be loved ones, a partner, or total strangers, or colleagues at the job, etc. This is where the universe is trying to give you back all of this, but naturally it requires your input, and it requires this massive psychological purge. This can also play out as an unexpected inheritance, as a parent falling ill and needing your assistance, needing your help. But this is where, yes, of course it is painful and unpleasant, but it also has a hidden potential to it, because it unites you. It makes your relationship that much tighter, stronger, and if there were any old conflict or misunderstanding between you and a parent, or between you and that family member, well, you can resolve it right now, and both of you can stand from a place of mutual acceptance, understanding, and a greater sense of solidarity. For natives born under the sign of Libra, well, this energy can have so much to do with family or relationships. This is a very strong karmic energy, but it might not play out very straightforward and in a very easy to perceive manner, because on one hand, for those of you who are in an established bond, well, this is the moment when you have to make very, very powerful and important decisions for your futures as a couple, and chances are that this situation is going to give birth to a lot of confrontations, to a lot of very serious discussions, where you have to actually split the hair into four, even regarding the past. This is where you have to express yourself, what it is that you truly desire from your hearts of hearts, and you have to, talk everything over with your partner. So chances are, for some people, this is going to break their relationship, regardless if it's just a long-term relationship or marriage. Some natives born under the sign of Libra are definitely going to face a divorce or a termination of their relationships. But of course, if there is genuine love and desire to be together, well, then this will just begin a new phase in your relationship, but one where both of you have to shoulder to shoulder face the challenges and obstacles, which might be material in nature. Maybe one of your jobs will be terminated, or you have to change, your lifestyle, etc. There are going to be a lot of sacrifices and, difficult decisions and choices involved. But if the love burns in your hearts, well, then there is no reason why you can't do this together. Just that it won't be easy, but it can basically consolidate your relationship and make it stronger than it ever was. Those of you who are single, well, this can be a karmic energy when you might meet a potential partner, or someone from the past can return into your lives. So either you might meet someone new, but who is very, very hard to get. So it will, even if it's a karmic meeting, so to speak, a karmic reunion, well, it's not going to be easy. There might be a lot of compromises, a lot of, issues having to be solved before this union can take place. Or if it's someone surfacing from your past, well, they're going to have a lot of requirements to get back together. This can also involve a relocation, buying a new house, selling your house, moving to a different area, different city, different location, joining a new community, a local community, for example. It can also be a massive upgrade to your home. But all of this is going to take time, effort, patience. So it's definitely not going to be an easy energy, because it will require a lot of sacrifices and giving up on other things which might be equally as important. So for those born under the sign of Libra, things are not going to be very clear. You just have to go with the flow and see where this karmic energy is leading you. And if it has much to do with partnerships, well, either you have to give up on an old relationship or on an existing relationship to free yourselves, to take off the shackles and the bonds of the past, and only then can you start a new relationship. Or if it's an old fated relationship returning into your lives, well, then you will need a lot of energy to heal the old issues, because that is the main requirement. But either way, the big picture, well, it is definitely leading you to freedom, to a totally new sense of normality regarding partnership. It can heal and basically regenerate your self-worth it can, Libra natives have a very romantic way of looking at things about them. They have the tendency to see the good and the ideal in everyone that they meet, especially when they have feelings for someone. And maybe this energy is trying to tell them that there are many times in life when you have to just embody realism, and even if it's really, really painful, you just have to stop your idealism, your romantic nature, because many times it leads to illusionary resolutions and outcomes that are definitely going to hurt everyone involved in this picture ultimately. So this might be a very, very strong life lesson that you need to be more realistic, especially regarding relationships, because sometimes looking at the very, very best and the ideal in a person is not a good idea, because this always gives birth to very incompatible relationships, whereas the love and the romance and the passion can be there 100%, but if your distinctive psychological configuration, your life goals, your hobbies, etc. are so different and incompatible, well, that relationship can never work. And maybe this is the lesson, a very hard and harsh lesson of wisdom for Libra natives. Now, for natives born under the sign of Scorpio, this is a very, very influential energy, because Mars is the ancient ruling planet of your sign. Yes, absolutely, it has a different symbolism in its daytime home of Aries than it does in your sign, where it naturally will take you out of your comfort zones. So abandon all hope if you think that you have everything planned and figured out, because there can be a lot of surprises here. Because this energy represents a life upgrade, but that upgrade depends very, very much on your way of thinking. So for many Scorpio natives, this will be like a celestial invitation to go and learn new things, develop new skills. Maybe if you need some certificates or some kind of official recognition for some skills that you already have, well, this can be such a moment. Yes, it is inconvenient naturally, but if it's needed, it's needed. And also, learning something new always bears hidden blessings, because it simply develops and fortifies your mental sphere. But this can also represent a psychological energy when you will see for yourself, or inner forces are going to motivate you to stop, for example, negative self-talk, stop projecting problems, the inner filth onto other people or in your communication. This energy might require you to apply, positive self-talk. Whenever you communicate about yourself, you have to apply a really appropriate language where you have to show respect, dignity, and honor towards yourself, because that way other people are also more inclined to respect you, and you create what you speak more so than ever for Scorpio natives, because your sign gives you a lot of psychological power, or let's say it, a lot of metaphysical power. What you project out there, may it be in form of just thoughts or communication, or even just fantasizing about this and that, well, usually that kind of manifests for you guys. So this teaches you to be very careful how you speak about yourselves and how you speak to yourselves as well. Positive, uplifting, powerful affirmations, even mantras, can do a lot of good for you guys, especially right now with this energy. But even if it's just learning something new in a very official way, like going to a course, training, etc., this can also be very, very positive, especially for the longer term future. but it does require effort, it does require sacrifice, and it does require courage to believe in yourselves that you're more than capable of learning. May it be official learning or unofficial. For some natives it is just, perfecting skills by helping friends accomplish a task, or volunteer work, or just self-study, personal study, unofficial study, research. Or it can be just hiring an expert, a highly skilled professional to help you, advise you, give you new perspectives, open new doors for you mentally, which of course is going to have a massive effect on your everyday routines, your work, the way you live your life. This can be a massive positive upgrade, but it all depends on the mind and how you view life, how you view yourself, how you communicate, what you express about yourself, and all your interhuman relationships naturally. Because for you guys, this is also when you might terminate long-term friendships, because finally Pluto, the planet of truth, secrets being exposed, and this is even psychological secrets, might reveal to you the true feelings of those people who you regard as very, very close friends. Maybe they don't share the solidarity, love, and support as mutually as you have thought. So naturally, this will change a lot of things in your lives. But either way, if any sign in the zodiac has this very strong alchemical power to turn this into their advantage, well, it's definitely you guys. So regardless of how this plays out, know that it can always serve your greatest good as long as you find the means to turn it into that. For natives born under the sign of Sagittarius, this energy of the Mars-Pluto square can play out in a number of different ways. It can, for example, be a psychological energy where they are kind of forced by the universe. And let's not forget that their ruling planet, Jupiter, is also tightly in this picture because it is conjunct Pluto. So Jupiter has a great deal of influence on how this energy plays out. So this could be like a celestial push from the back to rediscover and, recall their true sense of self-worth, their self-esteem. This can be a massive revolution to their value systems, where naturally they can abandon old principles and adapt new ones. It can naturally represent a new spiritual direction, a new direction regarding their faith, their identity, who they think that they are, what they think that they embody. Because let us not forget that the South Node is in their sign, and they are the hosts of the South Node, where it is in exaltation. So just as Sagittarius natives peel off old misaligned beliefs and, take on new ones, symbolically the whole world is going to be doing the same thing. So based on quantum entanglement principles, whatever takes place in the souls, in the hearts, in the minds of Sagittarius natives is how the North Node is playing out in collective reality. So just like their opposite sign, Gemini, is striving with all their strength for progress, this is where Sagittarius natives are working towards eliminating the reminiscence of the past and embodying all the wisdom and turning it into something very positive. But of course, this can have physical connotations as well, because it takes place in their second house, so it has much to do with their finances, with their physical material values, their possessions. So this is a very profound change that is taking place in their lives, but this change is meant to make them feel more comfortable in their lives. It has to make their normality be suitable for the person who they want to be, who they want to become. They want to enjoy life, they want to love life, they want to embody their passions, their skills, their creativity. They want to unleash their inner child. They are ready to start a new chapter, but it's not as simple as that, because that new chapter also needs to allow them to live their lives comfortably from a material financial perspective. And some Sagittarius natives have obligations in their lives. For example, family, children, parents, other people, contractual relations, etc., where they might not be able to benefit fully from the fruits of their work and their labor themselves. They might have to share it, they might have to support others, they might have to pay off a debt, they might have to pay off a mortgage, etc. So it is these two areas of their lives that are trying to balance themselves out, as in eliminating what doesn't work, consolidating what is essential, and trying to embody something new, which can ultimately lead them to a lifestyle, the next 18 months of their lives, for example, which is suited for them like a glove, which enables them to live life the way they truly desire, as in external reality to match their inner truth. And this is really, really important for Sagittarius natives. So this is going to be a long and delicate and complicated process, but the key to everything is what you feel and believe about yourself, as in your self-esteem, your self-worth. If you truly, truly believe it, well, then you're just inviting the universe to conspire in your favor, as long as what you believe is based on equity, morality, and dignity, and not, something which would go against either human laws, Jupiter in Capricorn, or divine laws. But it can also play out in a very chaotic and random way, where, for example, for those natives who are single and looking, this can just enter their lives as a love, falling in love with someone or something, and that love and the attraction can be so very strong that they're willing to give up everything, their state of normality, their stability. So it can also have a lot of surprises and unexpected twists and turns of events. Now, those natives born under the sign of Capricorn are naturally one of the stars of this celestial show, just like Aries natives, because Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn are in their sign. And it's not just that they're in their sign, they're in the third decan, so a very karmic position in their skies. So whatever and however this plays out, it is something very, very karmic. This can be like a massive conclusion, completion to a long journey of self-discovery, a massive upgrade to their identities, what they project onto others, their social position, for example, their place in an organization, career, within a group, within the circle of friends, and more importantly, in their families. Because for many Capricorn natives, this is like an irresistible inner call to either relocate, find their place in the world, but mostly, their souls to find their place in the world, not just the human identity. They want to be part of a community or a group where they just thrive, where everything resonates, where they're surrounded by all the right people, where everything is mutually beneficial both to them and the people, community, etc. So a lot of Capricorn natives might be considering relocation, swapping homes, changing something in their natural habitat, so to speak. Some might be inspired to move to the countryside, to start a new life, for example, a natural living. Others might be inspired to go abroad to embrace a new culture. Others, especially those who still live with their families, might be really inspired to break free from the familiar side, to go solo. Or if you share an accommodation with others, this might be a moment when you feel it, that it's imperative to have your own sacred space which you don't share with anyone. For those, for example, who have had a conflictual relationship with their families, this can be a moment of healing, of confrontation, of leaving the past behind. But of course, one way or another, because let's not forget that Mars and Pluto are very conflicting energies, where they just stir up battles, conflict, aggression, rage. So it can be forgiveness and coming to terms with the past, but it can also be burning all bridges. Or, for example, for those natives who are parents or are in an established bond, this energy can give them a lot of power, a lot of strength and ambition to do things which normally would be way too difficult, would require way too much sacrifice for their families, for their partners, to protect their homes, to protect the family that they want to enjoy. Some are preparing to have an addition to the family, a child or a pet or etc. So this is a massive time of action, making and enacting decisions which might not really be easy right now, but where you're heading towards in the future, this is necessary. This is a massive karmic moment, and chances are for you guys, all three conversations of this nature between Mars and Pluto, this one, the one when it's retrograde and the one when it leaves retrograde, are going to be very, very important and are going to mark very strong and important karmic moments for you. So manifestations can be very, very quick, instant, and this energy can get a lot of things done. Now for Aquarius natives, this energy is rather mental and psychological because they really need an inner upgrade. This is where they have to surrender certain hurts, pains, traumas from the past. But this is a very tricky process because all of this psychological energy is not hidden from their side. They are very aware of, for example, the grudges they hold, what truly upset them, what it is or when or how that they couldn't forgive someone or something. Maybe a memory, a situation they went through in the past that it just can't be released. It still matters to them. It is still alive in them. And because it's so very much alive, it kind of dominates their lives, their everyday choices. And it is this part of the revelation which was not as known by them. They might not have been that much aware how holding on to the past and those heavy feelings can influence our lives so very profoundly. For example, when you purchase something big, when you make a big investment, are you making it because you truly desire it and you need it in your life, or to prove someone something, for example? So this energy of the Pluto-Mars square can somehow reveal to Aquarius natives what it is that they're doing wrong, psychologically speaking. For example, how certain impulses, desires, obsessions that they might follow is basically their own self-defeating pattern, because they want to prove a lot of things to a lot of people, but there has to be a limit when you have to prove, what you have to prove, and the extent and the degree of the action you take to prove anything. Or Pluto in the 12th house can represent self-sabotage, when, for example, you take certain actions, decisions out of not knowing yourself sufficiently. You might think that certain things resonate with you, but only after you immerse yourself into them do you realize that they had actually nothing to do with you. For example, this is where you can form certain connections, friendships, etc. with people who you might wrongly think that are your type of people, and all of a sudden you can find yourself that you're surrounded by people who envy you, by people who are extremely toxic and narcissistic, where you might, come in contact with certain people out of sheer curiosity, and then that can also backfire. So this is where a lot of hidden psychological patterns are going to become aware, so they will no longer be hidden from you. You can basically observe yourself, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and that will be the moment when you will possess clarity and truth needed to change all of that. So basically, this Mars and Pluto square can be a massive karmic lesson on how to obtain a much greater degree of self-discipline, self-control, to be very careful what you speak, how you speak it, because Aquarius natives are very, very rebellious by nature. They want to express what they think, what they feel. They very rarely hold back. And even though they do possess the intelligence, the mental tactics, the wisdom, the know-how, how to communicate, how to analyze another person, they're really, really good psychologists, so to speak. They can rarely be deceived unless they deceive themselves. But knowing and having the skills is simply not enough, especially when expressing your individuality and your uniqueness is the main driving force of your life. This is where you will have to know when to surrender your distinctiveness. This is where you will have to learn when you need to be silent, when you are not allowed to truly express your opinion, or maybe those times when you have to really, really censor your opinion. So this is a massive karmic lesson on how to communicate in such a way where your communication can no longer be misinterpreted, or you cannot simply defeat yourself by, bursting with raw honesty, because not everyone can tolerate and take that raw honesty, because some people can mistake it for criticism, for harshness, for toxicity. So this is going to be a very powerful lesson on how to speak, how to communicate, how to express yourself, but in such a way where you have to take care of the integrity and the image of your own being, even if at times that requires the massive sacrifice of not expressing your opinion and not being as direct as it is in your nature, basically. It can also be a very powerful lesson about manipulation, because due to their high intelligence, Aquarius natives can very easily tell everyone what they want to hear. They can project their thoughts and desires and wills onto other people who are going to enact it without even knowing. So this can be a very powerful lesson also about morality and how and when manipulation is acceptable. For example, when you're manipulating someone in their highest good, and when you cannot use it for your own personal advantages. Basically, this is where your intelligence is a divine treasure, and you cannot use it in the wrong ways because there are karmic consequences for it. So one way this square can play out is a massive challenge, on your communication, one-on-one alliances, relationships. You might receive a lot of criticism or some kind of wake-up call to be very careful what you speak, who you speak with, and what you express. For natives born under the sign of Pisces, this can be a very important moment in time, because natives born under the sign of Pisces have had a lot of changes going on their lives the past 3 years, where they were really fighting, working, constructing their long-term futures. This is where they have fought for their dreams, their hopes, the future they truly want to experience, the life they deserve to have. They fought for it with every fiber of their beings. They invested all their energy into it, regardless of how, planning their future it looks like for each of the individual apart. But this took a lot of ambition, a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifice. In the recent past, your lives may have changed profoundly, where maybe your social cycle was replaced, job, career. It can be so very many things how this change took place. And this can be a powerful karmic moment when it is time for big action, when the universe basically inspires you to make all the right steps right now, very quickly, in order to complete the big karmic puzzle. This is a very powerful culminating moment for you guys karmically, because you can finally see the picture of that future you fought for and you worked so hard to create for yourselves. Well, of course, this doesn't mean instant manifestation or anything like that, but this can mean that you can already see how things are coming together, and that can give you a powerful sense of security. This is where everything is divinely guided without a shadow of a doubt. For you have Neptune in your sign. Your ruler is in your sign. So it's like the universe is basically guiding you as directly as if you'd be a marionette and the universe is the puppet master. But of course in the most loving and gentle and beneficial expression of this symbolism, because this was all for your highest good, and now finally it is time for action, and after the action it comes the time of harvest. This can also have a lot of financial opportunity to it, but in order for you to seize the financial part, because Mars is in your second house, you will need to put all your energy, effort, power into it. And also for a lot of Pisces natives, this energy can very quickly and unexpectedly basically change their status quo. They can enter a totally new chapter of their lives where things are coming together. This new life isn't like a leap of faith where you stand from the point A and it's still your old reality, your old life, and then you jump to B, which is the new. It is like a transition where as you're progressing forwards, simply everything around you changes and readapts. Of course, some things not as pleasantly, but other things instantly, miraculously. So this is like a mixture of energies, but ultimately it is serving your greatest good. This is where literally you guys are in the hands of the universe. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope this was useful and that you enjoyed it. If you'd like a personal tarot reading or psychic guidance, feel free to log on to 1millionnights.com, where a dedicated advisor would love nothing more than to help you and share their gifts with you. Thank you once again. Until next time, bye for now.